Welcome everyone to the AGM of the Cooperative College. Start off by going through some guidelines for the meeting. We're on a slightly different version of the technology to previous AGMs, so a little bit of an update. So firstly, for you all aware, you will have heard the announcement, or it will have popped up on your screen. We are recording the AGM, so please bear that in mind. Thirdly, if you're not speaking, if you could ensure that your microphone is set to mute. If we call you to speak, we'll ask you to unmute at that point. Otherwise, I say we risk noises off and distractions potentially during the meeting. Next one obviously goes without saying, please engage respectfully with the views and needs of all other members and attendees. And please use the chat for questions relating to the AGM. If you've got other queries you want to raise, the email there, hello@coop.ac.uk is there. We've got hopefully plenty of time today for all the presentations and questions, but if we do run short of time, we will, as always, commit to offering answers by email outside of the meeting. So again, welcome and thank you. It looks like we've got 29 people on the call, which is great. We've got a few parts to today. I will just do the first now and just note, and unless anyone wants to raise any objections, just note the minutes of the 2023 AGM, which are in your pack, and I'll take that question in a moment, Richard. And then we'll move on to a brief report from me, a more detailed update from colleagues. Then we'll have an opportunity for some Q&A, and then we'll round out with the trustee election results at the end. But Richard, do you have a comment or a question on last year's minutes?
There's something a bit odd about them. They seem to be headed 2022, and they've got the 2022 list of attendees. I'm pretty sure I was there in 2022, as the beginning of the minutes say. I'm pretty sure I wasn't there last year because I missed it. But then when you read through the rest of the minutes, they refer to 2023 business. So I think there's been some cutting and pasting going on somewhere that's gone slightly awry. Although I have tested positive for COVID this morning, so I'm not firing on all cylinders. So maybe I'm misreading, but I think there's something wrong with them. Sorry.
No, thank you for pointing that out, Richard. It's you know, it can seem like a formality, but there is a reason why we check the minutes. So if I can ask colleagues if we can check after the AGM whether the attendance list has been transposed from a previous year, and if that has been the case, if we can circulate an updated, corrected version of the 2023 minutes with the minutes of this AGM.
And the correct heading.
Yes, and the correct heading. That would be great. And yeah, sorry to hear you're ill, but thank you for joining us anyway, Richard. That takes us to, sorry, I'm a slide adrift. Yes, next item is the chair's report. I will be as brief as I can because most of the reporting will be done by staff colleagues. Oh, before I move on to that, Bob, did you have another question on the minutes before we move off that? Okay, I'll proceed. If you've got any questions, do feel free to drop them in the chat and we can pick those up either when we get to Q&A or as we go along, if that's easier. Yeah, so just a reminder that we're looking, as we always do, unfortunately because of the timing of the college year, which is July through June, and the kind of the AGM season for the movement, it means that we're now looking at figures that are almost a year old. It is something we're looking at, whether we can move our AGM earlier in the year to reduce the end of time between the year end and the presentation of our accounts. But obviously there's some benefits to being part of the AGM season. Often we've done these things historically at Congress, which has been why this is the historic time of year for this, but definitely something we're looking at. I do want to take the opportunity, some of you may know, this is my last of 6 years as a trustee of the college, and our constitution includes term limits, so this will be my last chairing of this AGM. But much more significantly for the on day-to-day running of the college, you will also have seen the announcement earlier in the year that Neil Calvert, who has been our CEO and principal for the last few years, is also moving on to pastures new. So it's very much feels like a transitional AGM, this one. And I would like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to Neil for his leadership and contribution to the college. And we'll talk about some of that in a bit more detail. But also, and excitingly, to formally welcome into their new roles Jacqui Thomasen, our new CEO, and Ali Longden, our new principal of the Co-operative College, who we're incredibly proud as a board to be able to promote from within the existing staff team to amazing people who I'm confident are going to lead the college onto even greater heights, building on the platform of the success that we're about to outline to you. So a bit difficult to do clapping in a if there was a room, I'd get them both to stand up and go, "Rah," give them a big clap. But I hope you will all join me in virtually clapping Jacqui and Ali and welcoming them into their new roles. As I said, I'll let Jacqui and then Ali go through some of the details of what we've achieved in the last year and where we're going next. But I did want to take the opportunity to just highlight a few things. And I think those of you who, I don't think there's anyone around, and if you're here and you were at the founding congress of the Co-operative College in 1919, then congratulations and do let us know. But I don't think there's anyone here who has that long a memory. But some of you will know that at that founding motion of the Co-operative Congress that set up the college, there was a vision for a broad range of education to be provided, including training for staff who work in cooperatives, but also including university level education. And one of the things that I think we are most proud of this year is the launch of our partnership with Dundee to offer postgraduate qualifications in cooperative studies. And so that's it's taken us over a century to reach that point, but I think it's a fantastic achievement and huge credit to all of the colleagues who've worked on that. And that's a real stepping stone to the future of the college. There's also been success, which we'll talk about in the development of the next phase of our youth programs, working with young people in a range of communities, and significant growth in our international relationships, both in terms of bringing international partners here and the work we do with partners overseas, including our Malawi project in partnership with Central Co-op. And I think the overarching message that I'd like people to take away from this is that we, over the last few years, have gone through quite a lot of changes at the college, and we invested in a transformation, a right sizing, and a new strategy a few years ago, which has developed this created this new unique space for the college, which is enabling us to develop and grow as a college and to, as I said, deliver on some of those objectives, some of which we've been doing consistently for 100 years and some of which it's taken us 100 years to get to. So it does really feel like, as I say, this is a transitional point. And with that, enough waffling from me. And I will hand you over to Jacqui, who is going to walk you through the 2022-2023 financial performance.
Thank you very much, Jon. And good afternoon, everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here and to share with you the year that was. So, as Jon said, it always feels slightly odd to be reflecting back so far, and we are going to try and come back to a slightly earlier point in the year for this meeting, but please bear with me. And I know that this is a section that everybody wants to gallop through, but it's a really important bit for us. So I'm going to just walk through the financial year that ended in July 23. So 22-23 was the first year of the new strategy, and that was not only did we commit to continue reducing expenditure, but we really wanted to focus on promoting a much more cohesive learning offer and learning portfolio. It has started to pay dividends, certainly. So the learning income increased by almost 39%, which is just over £136,000. This was made up of several new clients approaching us. We've started to work with cooperative academy trusts as well as values aligned organisations, some of which may be operating as charities, but are also committed to the same values as us. Our international study visits remained our single biggest revenue stream, and those study visits allow us to really tailor the content to the individual clients through the Learning for Organisations portfolio, but also allow us to collaborate with a lot of our partners through the UK cooperative ecosystem as guest speakers or immersive visits, and allows for all of us to learn and incorporate best practice from other regions and sectors into what we're doing ourselves. So huge thanks to the many partners who help us and support us in delivering those programmes, and special thanks to our numerous clients, Climbs, Confabras, Works, that too numerous to mention here, but we have really enjoyed developing those programmes, and Ali will touch on that more because the year that we're just coming to the end of has been even more successful in terms of those study visits. The project's income doubled versus 21-22 to just shy of £190,000. That incorporates the exciting work in Malawi that's undertaken by Sarah Aldred, largely from the college, in partnership with Central Co-op. And those that were here at the AGM last year will recall we showed a video that's still available on the website, and please do get in touch with us if you want to learn more about that specifically. Last year was the final year of the Co-op Foundation funding for the Youth Cooperative Action Programme. So the emerging priority for us was to redevelop the offer, taking from the learnings of that programme and create something more flexible and fundable to offer to young people. And again, more of that later. We received a further unrestricted gift from Central Co-op, to whom we express huge thanks. And this is now a fairly isolated case, so it's quite an urgent need for us to explore what might replace the previous unrestricted funding that we used to receive from the movement more widely. To that end, we've spent this year really prioritising re-engagement with the societies, with the sector more broadly, and to understand what the sector needs from us in order to reverse the trend. Membership income reduced slightly, and this for us reflects the need that we do need to review the organisational membership as a priority. We started to enhance our individual membership packages, our individual membership offer last year through the free provision of our online short courses and piloting some of the learning that we provide to organisations. And huge thanks to our members who remain committed and engaged and continue to share their ideas and their networks with us. Overall expenditure in the year to July 2023 was just a slight increase on the year before of just over £1,000. So it was at about 675,000. And that was in the face of the significant inflationary pressures which all of us experienced on all aspects of our cost base. We also had a slight increase in headcount in the year as well. On our investments, we had the significant fall of 170,000, almost 170,000 back in the year before. So last year, there were no further losses, and actually we did see a small increase reflected at the end of the year, which was just over £2,000. I suppose the most important message that I wanted to share with you was that the operational deficit continued to shrink. The net movement in funds, although still in deficit, reduced by over 50%. So that was to about minus 260,000 versus minus 541,000 in 2022. So we are very much on track, and certainly our aim to achieve financial sustainability within the next 5 years looks very much in sight, as this year's performance will attest to. So if we can just go to our next slide to say a huge thanks on behalf of all of the team here at the college. We want to extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to all of you who made 22-23 the year that it was. We're very grateful for all of your support. And I will now hand over to Ali, our new principal, who will talk you through the more recent history, what's taken place so far this year.
Thanks, Jacqui. And just like Jacqui and John, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon. So what I'm going to do, if I could move to the next slide, please, Ed. You might hear me saying that a little bit, or more than a little bit actually, during my part here, but there's just the headings there of our 4 themes. So cooperative learning, networks of knowledge, international cooperative development and youth empowerment. And so I'm just going to give a brief highlight of the work that we've undertaken in each of those areas, some of which Jacqui's touched on, so I'll perhaps add a little bit more detail to them. But starting with cooperative learning, you know, the heart of what we do, it underpins everything we do. We're very conscious that, yes, it's a strategic theme, but it is reflected in everything that we do as well. So over this past year, we've continued with the development and growth of our curriculum offer, but also the reach. So we're continuing to work with cooperative societies, be that for members, exec teams, boards. And this year we've very much sort of developed or had a lot of courses focused particularly on leadership and organisational culture, which have been really well received. But as always, we always connect everything within our workshops and courses to the cooperative values and principles. It's very much about the enacting of the values and principles in people's everyday work and lives. As it says there, all our training too, all our courses, all our learning programmes are all underpinned by the distinctive cooperative learning approach. So it's all about that interaction, sharing of ideas, and thinking no matter what the size of group or context. I mentioned the size of group there because this year has seen us deliver workshops, well, say facilitate workshops is perhaps the phrase I would prefer to use, to the largest number of groups that we've had to date. And that was with a cooperative academy trust down in Essex, where we facilitated a training day for their staff team with 186 people there in the room, which was a really well received, very successful. I said the evaluations were very, very positive. And as well as we've worked with a further cooperative academy trust and delivering training for their staff teams as well. This year too, we also worked with the House of Commons library staff, facilitating a bespoke sort of value-led training day for them too. So as I mentioned, the course evaluations have been overwhelmingly positive. As a team, we still though really want to continually reflect on our teaching and learning and learning from the feedback, so that we've got a continuous cycle of constant quality improvement with that, and that's something that we'll continue to implement over this past year. As Jacqui mentioned, for our members, we gave free access for individual members to our online self-paced courses, which have been warmly received. And we've also worked in partnership with the Cooperative College and Apex body in Malta, Co-operative, and I think a couple of people are here from there today. So hello, and nice to see you, because we're able to offer their members access to these courses this year as well. And again, as Jacqui said, the study tours have continued to grow over this past year. I think this year we've welcomed, this year's to date, I should say, we've welcomed visitors from the Philippines, Brazil on 3 separate occasions, and we have another group of visitors coming from Brazil in the next couple of weeks, but also from Zambia, Italy and Nigeria. And we have more planned, more dates already in the diary for 24-25, which is really exciting because it's very much a two-way process that we very much go out what we can learn from each other. And again, thank you to all the organisations who partner with us to make those happen. And higher education. As Jon said, if we can move on now, Ed, please. It's great that this year we've been able to finally sort of launch the programme with the University of Dundee. We're currently running a pilot of a master's level module on cooperative management and leadership. I think we're on week 6 now of the 10-week programme, and it's a closed cohort of 14 learners from the Cooperative College of the Philippines. You'll see from the image of the screen, on the screen, every week they always take a selfie, as referred to it as, which we post on our social media platforms. But the feedback is how much everyone is enjoying their learning and getting a great deal from it. So we'll be able to tell you more about that in due course, and hopefully a lot more news about it in next year's AGM. What I will say as well as the online delivery, the 10 weeks delivery, we're also looking forward to welcoming all the students on the course in Dundee in August, as we're organising a postgraduate residential school for them in Dundee, which is, yeah, great news and really looking forward to it. It feels like it's exciting times with this partnership. So if I move on to the next strategic theme, which is networks of knowledge. This year saw us launch the Global Cooperative College Network at the end of 2023. So along with ourselves, we have founder members, been 5 other cooperative colleges or schools from the Philippines, Malta, Nigeria, Brazil and Zambia. And we're meeting quarterly. So it's early days yet. We've only had 2 or 3 meetings at the moment. But the idea of it is that it provides a space for everyone there to collaborate and share practice on the cooperative teaching and learning. So it's very much practice focused. And some of the themes we've had are about the professional development of our teaching staff. And also we've had discussions about the creation of shared learning resources. Also under this strategic theme, we've hosted our webinars. We've had 3 this year. One at the end of last summer was You, Me and the SDGs. And that was very much thinking about the relationship between cooperatives and the SDGs, and what actions we can take as both individuals and collectively. And then in the autumn, I don't know if any of you attended, but we hosted an ICA consultation on the cooperative identity focused on Principle 5 on education. I thought it was really successful with 60 people attending the event and 152 people responded to questions that were circulated prior to it from 21 different countries. And then most recently, we held a webinar in the spring. Oh, can I say that now? I think we're just into summer now, aren't we? In the spring on cooperative leadership, where it was very much focused on what makes a cooperative leader, including sort of the challenges as well as the opportunities, and drawing on theoretical perspectives within that. As with everything, you know, all our webinars, we try to make them as interactive and encouraging the sharing of ideas, thinking of practice as far as is possible. Further areas of work within Networks of Knowledge is our work with Rochdale Creative People and Places, with the evaluation partner. And as part of that evaluation, we've been running workshops, sort of evaluation workshops to support their action research in practice. So they're very much focused on leadership from the middle of their programme, and that's why it's that action research focus for them, which we're leading on and supporting them with. And as many of you may know or may remember from the AGM last year, where we'd started our work sort of on our research to define what we mean by cooperative learning. We've continued with that over this past year, and thank you to everybody who has contributed to it. And the research paper has now been peer reviewed and it's to be published in the forthcoming Journal of Cooperative Studies, special edition on cooperative education later this year. we move on to international cooperative development. As Jacqui and Jon have both mentioned, the our Malawi partnership with Central Co-operative, we're at the end of year 2 now, and it's continuing to grow and to be successful. We're supporting Mafika, which is the Malawi Federation of Cooperatives, to grow the cooperative movement in Malawi across key products. So today, Mafika is supporting 7 key cooperative unions, and there's a combined membership of 120,000 smallholder farmers. And some of the successes include increased organic fertilizer use across the farmers and increased coffee production by up to 200,000 kilograms. And in March this year, Sarah, our head of international partners, visited Malawi for to review and to continue the planning for the year ahead. So we look forward to the future developments of that partnership. Other work that we've undertaken within ICD, International Cooperative Development, is with DGRV. That's basically, we're just completing that work now, and it was about the development of a youth cooperative engagement project. What it was to develop learning resources to promote the benefits of being part of a cooperative and to support those young people who are already in a cooperative to be able to strengthen their voice. So it's involved working in partnership with staff on the ground in 3 different countries. That's Laos, Colombia and Eswatini. And as I said, we're just coming right to the end of that project now. So again, there'll be more reports published on that later. And finally, we've got this, the beginnings of a new partnership with Zambia. Earlier this year, we had government ministers from Zambia visit us, along with the principal of the Zambian Cooperative College. Their overall aim is to devise a programme of learning to support their teaching and outreach staff to promote cooperative development in Zambia. So we're in the early stages of this work, but we're really looking forward to working with them in the coming year in 24-25. Final theme, which is youth empowerment. As Jacqui said, this year has seen the final cohorts of youth cooperative action, which were very much focused on youth action, youth social action, and were supported by the Cooperative Foundation and the Big Lottery I Will Fund. YCA, as we called it, Youth Cooperative Action, was very much aimed at inspiring young people to use cooperative values and principles to make a change that was important in their lives and communities. And with the funding from the Cooperative Foundation coming to an end, and to learn from YCA, we really wanted to build on the success of it and develop a new programme. And one of the key things that we'd learned from YCA is about increasing the flexibility. So we wanted to have a programme that could be adapted to support the different needs of young people, different contexts, and the organisational requirements as well, be it the funder or for where a project was being delivered. We're very grateful to the Cooperative Foundation for their support in enabling us to do this, to develop this programme over this past year. So, as you may have gathered from the slide, our new youth programme is called Vision. And it has the strapline of building a future where aspirations thrive through cooperation. So again, it's still a youth empowerment programme, and it was very much co-designed, taking a multi-stakeholder approach. So again, thank you to everybody who's contributed to the development of that. That included the feedback from YCA, we undertook focus groups, held development days, as well as analysing secondary data. So whilst learning about the cooperative business model is still a central focus of Vision, what it really does is support the development of life and employability skills and raising young people's aspirations, because that was one of the needs that we felt was really identified through the research that we did for the development of this programme. What is central to the Vision programme is that we do all of this and do this work through using the cooperative values as a lens. So it's all about the young people exploring what's important to them and the choices that they make, but looking at it through a lens. Each week of a programme will perhaps look at something that the young people choose through one of the cooperative values. And we successfully piloted this programme with a group of young people in 'So we're looking forward to working with further groups of young people in the future. But before I go any further, I'd just like to share a video, or ask Ed, I should say, to play a short video for you, just showing some of the young people who we've worked with this year.
Our experience in bullying, but now I've kind of put the advice from the project into my life, so now I'm feeling a lot better with myself.
I feel I've changed into a more aware person, and I feel I can help others.
So yeah, we were part of the finance team. We managed the budget and everything, and other people as well working in different sections, and we all came together.
I thought it's a really good community for young people to experience really good things like it has been today.
You see, that is literally some of my age running the event. It's also very inspirational because that could literally be me, that could be you, it could be my friend running the event. So I think that's why it's very powerful.
The whole reason for this project is to inspire young people, right? The fire is to represent spirit inside you that's burning inside you and wants to go out in the world and do stuff and just change the world. I don't know.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks, Ed. I really love that video. I'm saying, particularly just showing the just how it inspires young people and gives them the confidence sort of to move forward in whatever their next steps in life are. And from the pilot that we ran in Rochdale, in terms of the feedback and the evaluations from the young people, it was that growth in confidence that was consistent throughout it all, which was really lovely to see. But what's next? As you can see, we've got the next slide up for thinking about going back to learning. What's next? What are our plans for 2024-25? So the partnership with the University of Dundee, our postgraduate certificate in cooperative management will begin in January 2025. People will be able to study 3 of the 4 modules that we now have ready, or almost ready, I should say. They will be all ready by January, in order to achieve that postgraduate certificate. But they will also be able to complete these modules individually. They're standalone modules as well, so they're either complete individually, or you can stack them over a period of time. So we're really excited about that. And the names of the modules are just detailed on the right hand side of the screen. But do get in touch with us if you'd like any more information about it. But we're very much looking forward to launching the recruitment for this programme and developing it further in partnership with the University of Dundee. So going back to the youth empowerment, thinking about what's next for youth. Thank you. We want to continue to grow our partnerships to keep being able to deliver vision in the Greater Manchester area. So that would be our own delivery team being able to deliver the programme within the Greater Manchester area. But we also are keen to develop a flexible licensing model, as we'd really like to be able to extend the reach of vision further, both in the UK and overseas. So it's about supporting the vision facilitator training. And one thing I also wanted to sort of mention about youth empowerment is that we've seen an increase in focus over our study tours, our study visits, when visitors come, of just that interest and wanting to have sessions focused on and facilitate a discussion around youth engagement, particularly around how they engage people in cooperatives, and also to support sustainability of their cooperatives and that succession planning. It's been interesting for us having those discussions with visitors when they come over, but I say we really have found, and it's helped to see just those commonalities across all cooperatives, no matter where you are in the world, but also how we can learn with each other. So we aim to have that continued focus on youth engagement during the study tours. So at that point, I'm going to hand back, I should say, to Jacqui, who's just going to say a little bit more about what's next for Networks of Knowledge.
Thank you, Ellie. As I alluded to earlier, so in our Networks of Knowledge work stream, this year has been very much about investing and reconnecting with the cooperative movement. You'll see there a lovely photo of us with our wonderful trustee Jenny de Villiers, who was at Congress this weekend with us, along with other trustees. Greg was there, Barbara and Danny. So we were out in force, and we absolutely intend to continue that, having a presence at Congress, Practitioners Forum, Retail Conference and the ICA conferences. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet many of you at those sessions, as well as much as the learning that we take from it. We've also undertaken several insight projects this year, which has given us a really rich repository to draw from, such as the Principle 5 webinar we took, and also some quite deep dives into the learning needs of organisations from the movement across the UK. So, as well as using those to inform our learning offer going forwards, we'll also be publishing a report to share some of those insights with others as we've learnt. Co-ops on the curriculum has been a work in progress over the last year, culminating in a roundtable at Congress last week, co-hosted with Co-ops UK, and a meeting with the ICA Director General just this week and his team. So it's really gaining a head of steam now, and the campaign itself is designed to influence the key actors, as well as making real change in the provision of education about cooperatives in formal education. Our ambition is in the next year to achieve funding for and to formally launch that programme of work within the year. Oh, we're on to international cooperative development. Thank you. So for those that attended Congress International Dinner, you will already have heard about the intention to create an international cooperative development fund. And this is happening through the work with the International Cooperative Working Group, hosted by Co-ops UK. The fund is it aims to enable cooperatives of all size within the UK and potentially beyond to join together to support co-op development in multiple ways, to provide resources to other co-ops across the world for humanitarian support, for rebuilding post-conflict or disaster, or to grow co-op economies. Ultimately, the ambition is to ensure communities don't just survive crises, but can then see a future in their aftermath through building and sustaining local cooperative economies. And of course, we all know that 2025 is the UN International Year of the Cooperative, and that is going to provide us with numerous touch points to share our international cooperative development work and find potential new collaborations with partners internationally, as well as celebrating widely throughout the year. So we will be in New Delhi for the ICA Global Conference, and hopefully we will have the opportunity to connect with some of you there too. And finally, what's next for membership? We were hugely grateful to the many and diverse contributions we received in order to put together our webinar programme, which is now scheduled for the remainder of the year, and we'll repeat that process in January to understand what your learning needs and priorities are for the coming year. Ali's already mentioned, and I touched on, we've opened up some of our learning for organisations to individuals this year, so that we can offer the breadth of learning that we currently have beyond the larger co-ops and their members who might host closed cohorts or private workshops for that learning. We trialled it this year. We offered a discount for members, and we will absolutely continue to do that. But we've also decided that we'll offer a free course per member per year as well, to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to continue their professional and personal development with us. And we will be publishing that schedule in summer, so please look out for that. We're also offering we're going to launch a new category of membership this year, which is in line with the postgraduate certificate. So it's going to provide a more structured continuing professional development offer, which will be in a similar vein to the learning on the master's modules themselves. So that will be launching to coincide with the formal launch of the programme in January next year. And as I mentioned, we urgently need to conduct an organisational review. We've already held several meetings with some of our current organisational members, as well as those who aren't. So we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into what membership at the college looks like for organisations to ensure it's meaningful and sustainable for all parties. And probably most importantly, that I really want to capture your attention and imagination for now is that although we've been reflecting on the first year of the new strategy back in the finance section, we're now at that point, we're beyond the midpoint of its 3-year life cycle. So next year, from September onwards, is going to be the development of the strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. So that means we will be looking to engage with you again. I think we'll probably have a kick-off event for members to contribute to the strategy development around January 2025. So please look out for that, and please join in any way you can. We're going to make it as easy to contribute as possible. So if you're not able to make the event, there'll be other ways to have your input. And this time next year, we will be launching that strategy. So that's the end of the membership round, and I am handing back to our chair. Thank you, Jon.
Thank you, Jacqui, and thank you, Ali, for that. So we've got a little bit of time now for any questions from members, and then we've got a few items at the end around the elections and other announcements. So let's start this. I was going to say, please either drop something in the chat or put your hand up. And I can see, Richard, you've already got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Since you're taking questions all at the end, I've got 3 points and then something to say about the finances. So the first point is on the leadership programmes, and this partly links with youth. I wonder if you've considered replicating the cooperative leaders and scholars programme, which has been run very successfully by the Co-op Development Foundation and NCBA Clues in the United States for a number of years. One of the key people who has been involved in delivering that, Kathy Stats, has relocated to Europe and was actually at Congress over the weekend. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce her to the college colleagues who were at Congress. But bearing in mind the priority that came out of the last retail conference from larger societies about developing future cooperative leadership, particularly much younger generations of managers, I think that's something that is basically available off the shelf and could be lifted and shifted, and has been very successful and has a level of cachet in the North American context. The second one is around networks and the wider movement. As I'm sure you know, the work of co-ops have formed a kind of breakaway federation from Co-ops UK. And I just wonder, while they don't have very much money, I just wonder whether that's a potential partnership in terms of finding partners with whom you could draw down external funding for leadership development and cooperative management development. The third one on a similar vein is, do you have any relationship with SATA? That is that's the Co-op Managers Network within USDOR. It's what used to be NACO, the National Association of Co-op Officials, when they merged with USDOR. My brain isn't working well enough to remember what the SATA acronym stands for. John Boyle can probably help us out on that. But as a network of professional managers in the movement, I wonder whether they're a potential partner. So those are the 3 points. Then I just wanted to say something about finance. And I've been attending these meetings off and on for 20 years under, I think, 4 different sets of college management. And I think every meeting I've attended, losses on general funds have been reported. Management have always been upbeat about things being about to turn round, but in that time, something like adjusting for inflation, 75% of the college's resources have been burnt through. And by my reckoning, despite the very welcome reduction in losses this year, you've got less than 5 years left. So I think, in a sense, I'm reassured that you're not promising to break even next year, because that's what's always been promised before and never been delivered. But if you don't break even within 5 years, it's game over. And I think there needs to be a level of realism. And I'm looking particularly at the board on this, because this is a governance issue about the very serious financial situation the college finds itself in, and the fact that you simply cannot continue recording trading losses year after year after year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard, for those 3 very helpful suggestions and that very important point, which certainly in my time on the board, as you say, not an issue that we've gone more than a meeting without discussing. And obviously, I'm about to step down, but I know that that's absolutely at the core of the planning process for the next round of strategy. What I'm going to do, because I'm just conscious of the time, is I'm going to ask Bob if you can raise your question, and then I'll give Jacqui and Ali an opportunity to come back in as well.
Yes, thank you, John. I have to say, I haven't been involved in the college very much in recent years. And some of you may not know me, but I was chair of Cooperatives UK around 2000. And when I stepped down from that role, one of the achievements that I was most proud of was to have got the college out of a difficult problem of running Stanford Hall, and to have handed it, in company with some others, an endowment of nearly 5 million. So I'm really shocked to see that net assets now are down to 1.6. So in a sense, I'm echoing what Richard was saying. And in fact, I can see that net assets in 2016 were 4 million. So over the 7 years since 2016, basically this 2.4 million pounds has been burnt, which is an average of over 300,000 a year. And as Richard said, I mean, this has quite simply got to stop, because otherwise the outcome is inevitable. And one thing I think that needs to be, I mean, it is noteworthy that this AGM is taking place 11 months after the end of the last financial year, which is dreadful. And I think that there needs to be a commitment in view of the seriousness of the situation that there is an AGM arranged within, say, 3 or 4 months of the end of this current financial year. That's the timescale that's needed. But I would have expected, and what I think the only salvation, the only or the best route I can see from the college to achieve a sustainable position is to win much more business from the established societies. And I really think that is something that should be in the forefront of all of the board's minds and the senior executives. You know, that's, I mean, that seems to me to be the sector of the cooperatives that could sustain the college. So I hope that efforts will be redoubled to turn the situation around, because as Richard remarked, if that isn't achieved and achieved quickly, then the future doesn't look very bright at all, and I would be very sad to see that transpire. Thank you. And I'm sorry if that sounds very negative, but I do think the situation is serious.
No, absolutely. The point of these meetings is for you as members and supporters of the college to hold us as the board accountable. If that wasn't, if we weren't being asked difficult questions, then you wouldn't be doing your job as members, and we wouldn't be doing our job as board. Paul, if I can ask you to come in with a brief contribution, because I'm conscious of the time, then I will respond to some of those points, and then I will give Jacqui and Ali the chance to. Thanks.
Thanks, John. First of all, a word again of congratulations to you for surviving 6 years as chair of the college. And I speak as somebody who did a little bit less than 6 years. I was the last chair of governors in the old structure of the college. But I have two brief questions. One a bit relating to some of the points that Bob and Richard have been raising, which is, what is the level of support that we get from the co-op group nowadays? This was always, in my time, it was looking to decline, but I don't know where it's got. And secondly, a question on the international side. As always, the work in Malawi is encouraging and is good to hear about. I just wonder if there are if we have links with other countries that might be leading towards similar partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I haven't been chair for all of those 6 years, but I have been on the board for 6 years, but thank you. In terms of the commitment about the AGM happening sooner, I don't feel as outgoing chair that I'm able to make that, but I know we have discussed that, and there is a commitment to try and move earlier in the year, although, as I say, whether we can jump forward by almost 9 months is a question which I don't think we can address in this meeting, but we'll take that suggestion very seriously. In terms of the bigger financial picture, I'll say a few words from the board perspective, and then I'll let either Jacqui or Ali come back, and certainly let you come back on the international opportunities question. I was involved in the work that was done to right-size the college and try and set a sustainable plan during the pandemic, which was partly a response to the pandemic and the lockdowns, and partly a response to the long-standing financial challenges the college faces, as we've talked about. And I think what I learned from that is that the history of the college in the last couple of decades really has been trying to find its niche again, because the days when the college was the training provider to a large number of small retail societies are behind us. As the retail societies have merged and brought their training provision in-house, the need for an umbrella body like the college to provide training that was just not realistic for lots of small societies to provide in-house, it is not there anymore. And but there is a different need now, and there have been a number of attempts to try and find solutions. So, for example, a few years back, the cooperative schools model, cooperative trust schools model, looks like it would not only be a fantastic option for education, but also a potential growth area for the college. And a lot of investment went into that, and then changing government and change in education policy meant that that was no longer a market that we could operate in. Although I'm really pleased to see that what remains of the cooperative academies network, which is nothing like as big as we'd hoped it would be under the earlier model, we're now starting to get that business again. And I think the other thing is that as those the sector, as the movement has changed, the college, and I don't think this is a place where we need to do a PR path. No, the college had to evolve and had to change along with that, and perhaps we weren't as quick as we needed to be if we look back over our history. And so one of the things that I think will go down as part of the legacy that Neil is leaving for Jacqui and Ali is a substantially improved relationship with the retail societies, a position from which we can rebuild those trading relationships. But also, as Jacqui highlighted earlier in the presentations, the days of unrestricted funding to the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds a year to the college are behind us. One of the reasons why the strategy we agreed that we're currently operating has immediately fell behind its projections is it was based on what was understood to be an unrestricted donation from the group, which it turned out to be a commitment to that level of trading income, which obviously is a much smaller margin than an unrestricted grant. So that kind of set us back at step one of that strategy. And so no, we now have a much more realistic relationship with the retail societies, one that's based on high quality provision. And as was mentioned earlier, there is a lot of work being done to build that up. But the business model of being a successful trading cooperative, providing educational services, as opposed to an organisation receiving grants to provide charitable services, is quite different. And so that's part of the reason why it's taking the time it's taking. I'm conscious that I have now run us very much into time, and there is a bit we need to do still in terms of the announcement of trustees. So Ali, Jacqui, is there anything you wanted to add, or perhaps one of you could come back on the international point?
I would just like to reinforce that we're absolutely clear that financial sustainability is our first and foremost priority. We've got quite a laser focus on it, and I think we have put in a lot of groundwork to be able to recover, but it's not a quick fix, because as you've pointed out, it's year upon year of losses that we've got to recover from. The international opportunities, I think the work on the International Cooperative Fund is a big piece of work in progress that will give us the opportunity to potentially replicate the Malawi project and others like it, either with individual societies who want to go down that path or as a collective. The other points.
Shall I come in about the partnerships education-wise, Jacqui?
Thank you. Yes.
I was just saying, Richard, we spent quite a bit of time actually with Kathy at Congress. So we had been in email contact with her prior to Congress. So it was great to meet her in person there. We're always open to partnerships and working with others. I think it's core because we're small now, and for supporting that sustainability, we need to work with with others, but that's what cooperation is all about anyway. So yeah, we are always more than happy to look at things. I know the programme, I know I've got it up on another screen, what you just shared, Richard, is looking at, that is for those who live in North America. And I think the difference with us, with our Dundee partnership is, I don't think I mentioned it actually when I was talking before, is that it's open to everybody. Obviously there's entry requirement for a master's level study, but it's open to anybody across the world who meets the entry requirements, because it's delivered online. There will be options for people to visit Dundee, but it won't be a mandatory part of a module. But having said that, we can always learn, be it from a teaching and learning perspective or just the way in operating from others. So yeah.
Thanks, Ali. If we can move to the next slide, because I'm conscious we are now slightly running out of time, before which I apologise to people. We had a call for nominations this year, and we had two candidates come forward, Sally Ann Decker and Teresa Vaughan, both nominated as individual members. There weren't enough candidates to require a contested election, so you will have missed the voting emails that you normally get at this time of year, but we're very pleased to announce Sally Ann and Teresa as having been elected unopposed as our new trustees. And also we wanted to take this opportunity, because, and this has happened since the last AGM, to introduce you to Justine Bellani, who is our new learner trustee. Justine is involved in the Malta Co-operative College, so again another strengthening of our international links. And finally, Stacey Salt has taken over as the staff member trustee on the board. So we now have a full complement of the various different roles in place. With my sincere apologies for running over, I would like to just take this final moment, if that's okay with people, to thank all of the staff that I've had the huge privilege of working with over my time as a trustee, and all of the trustees who have supported me in my time as chair. I'm incredibly excited to hand over to Jacqui and Ali as they step up and start to deliver on the plans we've been discussing today. And I also want to take this opportunity to introduce members to Rosie Harvey, who has been an absolutely excellent deputy chair for the last period of time, and who, when I step down as chair at the end of this meeting, will be the acting chair of the College Trustees until a formal appointment can be made at the first board meeting after the. So what I'm going to do now is just hand over to Rosie to wrap us up for the meeting. But from me, thank you very much, and I will see you all again. I may not be on the board, but I'm obviously not leaving the college, and will continue to follow and be engaged with interest and excitement.
Thank you, Jon. And so, yeah, I have the lovely job of just taking a moment to say a quick round of thank yous before we leave. So to start, an absolutely massive thank you to Jon for all of the time and the commitment and hard work that you've put into your role, both as a trustee and then also as chair of the board. And what I think today has really shown is that you've supported the college team through a period of lots of change, but also from what that video in particular I think has highlighted, it's included many successes. So keep your eyes peeled, because keep your eyes on your inbox, and also through the mail you have some nice surprises that should be arriving shortly. And like you say, even though I know that you're leaving your current role, I know you'll stay a supporter of the college, so thank you. And I also just want to say a warm welcome to the newly appointed trustees. Thank you very much for putting yourselves forward for the role. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better and to working with you. And finally, just thank you to everyone who's here today, who's taken the time. So to the members for taking the time out today to join us, but also for your ongoing support and challenge to the college. Today's been a great opportunity to reflect on what the fantastic team at the college have achieved over the last year, and I can't wait to see what the next year brings. So thank you very much, everyone. We're going to close there, but please do keep in touch.